Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first Feel the News live on YouTube. I'm so happy that you are all here. For those of you who don't know, but I'm pretty sure you do if you're here, is that Feel the News is the only news show that tells you exactly how you should feel about the news. I'm your host, Marcela. I am anti-state, anti-capitalism, but very pro-laughter because I'm also a stand-up comedian. And today I've gathered some of my very funny and smart people that I know to help me tell you how to feel about the news, because I tell you all how to feel about the news throughout the week, and it just makes me really, really sad. So I brought on some people to bring some joy and laughter into some of these news feelings. Today we're going to talk about Palestine, because that situation is fucked up. We're going to talk about, should we wear masks? Are you going to be wearing your masks? The CDC doesn't think you have to if you're vaccinated. Let's see how we feel about that. And then we're also going to be talking about companies that claim to care about the environment but don't care about people, which makes me wonder, do they not think that people are part of the environment? Yes, there's a lot of feelings, a lot of thoughts, but let's just get started. I'm going to bring our very first guest who's going to help me tell you how to feel about the news. She's very funny. She's a New York comic. She's been in the she's done stuff for UCB. She's been in the Women in Comedy Festival. Just a general delight. Please welcome to your screens, Kate Sisk. Hey, Kate.
Hello.
So, Kate, thank you for being here, Kate. Kate, before we ask you how you feel about the news, we just want to get a general idea of what your politics are, because we want to know, like, can we trust what Kate is telling us? So, how would you describe your politics?
Okay, I would describe myself politically as trying to be always learning new things and always open. I feel like when I was 9, I pigeonholed myself and was like, George Bush is a good president, because I heard a grown up say it once, and I've been regretting it ever since.
No!
So I am very, very open to being wrong, to learning new things. All that being said, I feel very strongly about a lot of maybe kind of leftish, socialist ideas like universal health care.
So you think people have the right to not die from being sick?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Yeah, universal health care, abolition, Green New Deal. Those are the policies that I really vote based on, I guess.
Well, I gotta say, Kate, those are good policies to vote on. Like people not being able to like get health care, that's kind of crappy. Sending people to prison, kind of shitty. We shouldn't have those. They're bad. Green New Deal, I mean, it's kind of capitalist. It's not the best. We can do better, but
I guess what I mean is
we'll work with it.
Stopping the end of the world, please.
I just wanted to, but you know what? Bright side, don't have to pay those student loans if you got them. So, maybe that's the solution to student loan crisis. Don't solve for global warming. We'll all die.
No problems. Students.
Don't have to pay the loans if the earth is not here. But so yeah. Okay. So we know that you're a good person based on your political choices. 9-year-old you ain't shit, but this Kate we like. Okay, so like where do you get your news from, Kate? Are you like a Twitter person? Are you like I go to bbc.com? Like what are you like?
I used to be not really on Twitter at all. And then
at all?
I used to I didn't have a Twitter until like maybe 2 years ago. And then I got into like, scrolling through and clicking through the articles. And then when I needed to feed my addiction more, I started reading the comments.
No! Stay away from the comment section. That is so it sounds like you're a doom scroller who also doom scrolls through comments. Oh my god, Kate, that is the worst combination of the news.
I am in a very bad state of mind.
No one
well.
No one on Twitter as well. But okay, so you read your news on Twitter. Do you have like a dedicated like place that you're like, oh, these are like the news sources that I trust?
That's a good question. Um, some of the standard ones, I feel like I'm just skeptical of everyone. Like I'll read the mainstream news, uh, and then I'll go back to Twitter to see where everyone's like calling them out on their bullshit. And
That's
be
a good
like,
way to do
oh,
it.
okay, so NBC wasn't being honest with me.
They were lying about capitalism the whole time. Those jerks. Yeah.
And what something I love about Twitter is that there's like all these independent journalists, like a lot of time posting like primary sources, like footage of events, or like a play-by-play of what's happening, or like live tweeting a press conference that I can't necessarily access through the mainstream media for whatever reason. So I feel like it's definitely kind of expanded my viewpoint as much as it has also destroyed 50% of my brain cells.
Twitter.
Yeah.
But you know what? The 50% that you have left are very strong because they've lived through Twitter.
So.
If your brain cells, the ones that live through the doom scrolling, they're MVP. They're GOAT. Like they're good ones. You got some good
They're
ones.
doom resistant.
Got some good brain cells left. Well, okay, so pretty much to sum you up, get your news from Twitter. Brain cells are dead. But sorry guys, I have allergies. But you are a good person who cares about people getting healthier. So I feel like I can trust how you feel about the news. I just wanted to make sure before I share this clip with you. So let's go into it. We're gonna talk about a company that doesn't care about people but cares about the environment. And I'm gonna share a real quick clip that I did on Field and News. And I want you to tell me, do you agree with my feelings about the news? Do you think I was wrong? Let's do it. All right.
Have unionized despite the company's union-busting efforts.
Okay, let's start it from the beginning.
Workers at Imperfect Food, a company that seeks to reduce food waste by selling ugly eggplants, have unionized despite the company's union-busting efforts. How should you feel about this news? Excited that workers voted for less exploitation from a company that cares more about ugly cabbages than people. I say they voted for less exploitation because capitalism is exploitation and unions only make it less exploitative. Kind of like ice cream might make a breakup hurt less, but it won't bring your ex back. Also, you can't stop food waste through capitalism because capitalism is the problem. And anyone who tells you this is obviously an exploiter. Sorry to be a downer. This is supposed to be a good time for good news. And the good news is that you can't eat ice cream to forget all the pains of capitalism for a moment. But then you have to get up and do some community building. Slide that blunt under your neighbor's door and plot the revolution. No one is coming to save us. We are it. If you want to hear me rant more,
you're hearing it now. Kate, so union busting. What are our feelings?
I think your feelings are right. I think unionizing is always good. Union busting is always bad.
You're right.
My favorite, not that I have a favorite union busting, but my favorite terrible union busting tactic that I've seen was those Twitter bots that Amazon put out to pretend to be people, I guess, and say that unions will cost you money, even though the whole idea is that you're going to get paid more money because of your contract. Those robots were crazy.
Those robots, and also it sounds like a robot, something a robot would say too, right? It's like unions are bad. It's like no human with common sense. I mean, a lot of humans without common sense do say that, but it does sound like a robot-y thing to do. Yeah, it's okay to poop in your pants and pee in a bottle. Just don't join a union. It's worse. Can you imagine? But this company, Imperfect Food, their thing though, Kate, is that they're trying to save the planet through environmental waste.
Yes. I think there are so many companies who, whether it's like environmentalism or we're women owned, or like, you know, post about Black Lives Matter or something like that. They're like commodifying the activism that people, I think, rightfully and happily are getting more into. But it's discouraging that, you know, can a company really claim to be ethical? Probably not.
No, probably not. My thing is like, if your whole thing is that I make money through capitalism, I don't really trust you. You're exploiting somebody. Like, you know what I mean? So I think your feelings about that are like 1,000% right. I don't trust companies that are always like, oh, I'm gonna save the planet but through making money, right? Imperfect Foods wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna take the ugly cabbages and give them to people that need it. It was like, I'm gonna take these ugly cabbages and sell them so I can make more money. And it's like, you lost me. I don't trust you.
They saw like an MTV little segment about dumpster diving or something, and they were like, let's cut out the middleman, but the middleman is the dumpster.
Yeah, let's cut out the trash. Let's bring this food directly to the people. And you know what? You can get trash food, but it'll cost you money, and we'll make the money. It feels very, very sinister. But like the problematic thing about like just like in the United States, I feel like a lot of people have been propagandized to think that unions are not for their benefit, when in reality, the reasons why wages have been stagnant, while productivity has been increasing, is because unionization has been dropping. And then what's like also really funny to me with these companies that say they're like BLM, but like you're against unions, it's like the people that gain the most from unions are like Black people and brown people. So you can't say you're like BLM and like bust the union. Like you're not. Like you can't be one and the same. So it's like pick a struggle, bro. Like either you're like BLM and you care, or like you're not and you don't.
I guess either become like a workers' cooperative or shut the fuck up and sell me my fucking cabbage.
Exactly. Yes, you got it right. So like when people say it's like Black owned, but it's like, but are you still exploiting people? Like just because Ben Carson is Black doesn't mean we're voting for him. Like we're not though. But just because like if you're a capitalist business and you're Black owned, to me that's still exploitative. Like that's just where I stand, and those are my feelings. Well, Kate, do you have any other feelings you'd like to add about this?
You said this was Imperfect Foods that did this?
Yes, Imperfect Foods.
Man, what am I gonna do? They come to my house every Thursday and they give me little carrots and big carrots. What is it? What do I do now? I know that there's no ethical consumption, and I know I have to eat. But do I gotta cancel my subscription?
Well, I would say, Kate, I wouldn't cancel my subscription only because the workers did vote to unionize. So if you keep shopping there, you're supporting these workers who did unionize. Just, you know what you could do? Just send Imperfect Foods some like hate mail. Just be like, guys, these carrots are great, but also you suck and I hate you. Just be like, yes, cabbage a delight. You not so great. Shitty humans. Like, you're gonna have your carrots and eat them too.
Okay, good. Oh,
yes, you don't have to give up the ugly carrots or the ugly cabbages. You can still eat them.
I can still make a very sad soup out of those two ingredients.
Just sad. What's the ugliest plant you've gotten from them?
Well, I'll tell you the funniest one is we kept getting shallots that were like the biggest freaking shallots I've ever seen in my life, like huge. And they charge per shallot, and I was like, well, this is great because the shallots are huge. And then we got an order of shallots and it still said like, oh, like the wrong size shallots, and I'm like, I don't care. And they came and they were this big. And
it was still the shallot they charged you. Like, how much was it? Wait, you should have hated them then. You should have known, Kate. You should have known that somebody who would do that to you is not treating their work as well. You should have known. You should have known.
I should have known.
You should have known. The reading was in the shallots. Whatever. What is it? Like the T or the stars or the whatever? Oh my God. That's so silly. That's so funny though that they did you like that. And you kept going. Yeah. I mean, you're a loyal customer. One loyal person. Well, Kate, thank you so much for joining us and telling us all the feelings. We really appreciate it. And I really
thank you for having me.
Ugly carrots later. Okay, everybody, that was Kate. I hope everybody's having a fun time. Sorry about my allergies. I should not wipe my nose on camera, but we're being real. It's Friday. It's 8:16. It's been a rough week for a lot of us, but you know what? We're here. We got it. And so let's just keep going with the news. So the next person who's going to help me tell you how to feel about this piece of news is a very funny Brooklyn comedian. She hosts a show called Loud Bitch, and it is actually really, really good. Amazing. Not actually. It's pretty really good show. And if you live in Brooklyn, you should go see it. Please welcome to your screen, Sheria Mattis. Hey, Sheria.
Hey, hi. Oh my goodness. Yes, what an intro. Thank you, Marcela. Thank you. What an intro. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. First of all, can we just say that hair? Whoo, can we talk about that before we even start talking about the news? I love my hair cannot do that. I just try to braid it because it's it just doesn't look good like that, up like that. It looks amazing. Your hair looks good.
Braid. Otherwise, I would. If I could braid, it would look like this.
I can't do it. Hey, you know what? You didn't have to learn how to braid because that's what your hair looks like. You learn how to braid out of necessity. I feel like that's the thing.
I just found out a few years ago this is what my hair looks like, because I used to be half bald and permed, and days long flowing beautiful weaves under my balls.
Edges just receding bit by bit by bit by bit by bit.
My edges have never recovered. I won't show it. That's inappropriate. But my edges have never recovered from the chemicals that I've done to it.
Well, I'm glad that you stepped away from the chemicals because your hair looks amazing. I love. But we're not here to talk about hair. We're here to talk about serious things like the news, for example. So Sheria, before we get into the news, I just want you to let these good people know, what are your political views? Generally speaking, rundown. Let us know.
I am a Nazi. So
get out. Wait, who invited? Who brought this woman here? Should have known.
Did you not know? I talk about it all the time in my comments.
Okay, so actually, guys, Sheria will no longer be telling anybody how to feel about the news. So we're going to just go ahead and end the show now.
Free speech. What about my free speech?
You're going to have free speech, just not here. You're going to do it outside.
No. I'm not a Nazi. For clarification, I am not a Nazi. Not Candace Owens.
Candace. Ooh. Candace.
I would say, here's the thing. I am extremely progressive to the point that it is probably I'm on the list somewhere. But I have a lot of friends who are communists, and I don't stand governments. I'm not
You are an anarchist, baby. That's what you are. You're like me.
I'm black bitch bacooning. That's my whole thing. I think I'm an anarchist-ish, but the thing is, I'm so lazy. Anarchist seems like such an active political position.
Here's the thing though. It can be active, but it's really just you hate hierarchy, and also you do some community building. Your show is community building. That's anarchism. That's a huge part of that. You're already an anarchist. You didn't even know it, and you're already doing this shit, and you didn't even know it. So there we go. Here we are.
Well, I feel empowered. I feel finally empowered. But also, I have to let you know, I am a regular imperfect food person. These are all imperfect foods, vegetables. I have my imperfect foods organic animal juice. I was like, damn, I didn't know anything that they was trying to bust unions. They was Coca-Cola. They was shooting motherfuckers in the head. They were shooting people. We're trying to get a union. What's going on?
union busting, like they were. And like, you know what? That apple juice is tasty, but it has a tiny bit of exploitation in it. I mean, but like so does everything. But this one maybe a little bit more. You're just like drinking it sweet, but it's like, is this human blood? I mean, no, but you know.
It adds kick, you know. I'm glad that they haven't killed anybody for forming a union. I'm glad that they have a union now. Because always, I had to know there was something wrong because the delivery people always seem like they want to die. Like
they're tired. They were tired.
Yeah, they're extremely tired, and they don't. You don't tip. I thought you could tip the delivery. It's stupid. I should have known. But the vegetables, I can't. I spent like $70 a week on groceries, and I don't believe my cow. And it's the only way to get me to eat vegetables is I'm being held hostage by them. And that's but there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, okay?
There isn't, but that's why we have to call these assholes out though. Like if you're saying you care about the environment, but then you don't care about people, it's like, are people not part of the environment? Like let's get your case. Let's get you together, like real quick. Like let's
about the environment, they care about their shareholders. That's just like no
their pockets also. They want to get that super yacht. The
they
best
don't have the ability to care. Like everybody who thinks, oh, Skittles loves the queers. Like, no, they don't. They just it's just all branding, sis. Like the
money.
That's right. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm just lazy.
Hey, that's why I feel like that's most of us. I mean, I want to keep talking about imperfect foods, but I feel like we should talk about something else. I want to talk about, where do you get your news from? Kate was like a Twitter person. Like, where are you at? Are you like I'm a Twitter, or are you like a New York Times? I don't know. I don't read them, but you know.
Wow. That's how you see me? No.
I mean, I don't. I was saying, I was giving an example of a corporation that produces news. And when I say produce, I mean produce in the real sense, as in it's lies. But please continue.
Yeah, no, I don't do the New York Times, but I do Twitter involuntarily. That's where I get my news involuntarily. And then Democracy Now!, Amy Goodman, that's my cousin, if you didn't know. And Mother Jones, even though I think Mother Jones had some issues with everything is
everybody's got issue. Yeah.
To be honest, I hate reading the news. I do have to force myself to read the news every time. I hate it. It makes me extremely depressed.
Because it's bad. Like, when is it good? Like, it's not good. It's all bad. Like, yeah, it's depressing. And I think that's like the I think they want to make it depressing so we don't read it and we don't know what's happening and they just keep screwing us. They're like, these people will be so scared they won't come back here no more, and then they just won't know what's happening and we'll just keep taking over. We'll keep taking everything.
I just kind of am like, when are they gonna kill us all? Like that's all. Mm-hmm. That's where I am. I'm like, when's the slave ship coming back? Like that's why I read the news, just to keep abreast of the oppression.
Just so you know when you need to pack your bags and run. You're like, okay, is it the moment? All right, take your night bag, get out.
Yes, exactly that. Exactly that. When is America? I mean, I can't wait for America to finally end because it is an absolute disaster. What a terrible series.
It's been bad. The only thing I can think of probably that's worse is, I guess, people get really mad about the Game of Thrones like last season or the last episode. I guess maybe that's the only thing no, America's still bad. I'd say it's the worst.
Way worse than way worse than the Starbucks cup in the Game of Thrones last season. America is the Starbucks cup. America is if the Starbucks cup was the entire last season.
Oh man. Yeah. So we got it. You hate America, love it. Potentially an anarchist, love it. Twitter, Mother Jones, Amy Goodman. We are here for all that shit. Now, I want to hear how you feel about this new CDC guidelines for saying that people who are now vaccinated don't have to wear masks anywhere. Indoor, outdoor. Well, I guess they did say transportation. So like still if you're in an airport or like airplane, you still have to. But like you can go to the club and I don't know who's going to the club anymore. I'm not. But like you could unmask. You could be maskless at the club. You could be maskless at the bar. Like, how are we feeling about this? What are our feelings?
This is the thing. Okay, I don't know if you want my feelings. Because first of all, I'm vaccinated. After this pandemic, I was just like, screw everybody else. I'm getting mine. And now I'm vaccinated. I don't care because I've learned this country truly does not value human life at all. Like, it's just true. Like there's no debate about that. And so I like, does the CDC, are they saying that because it's truly safe for vaccinated people to be unmasked? No, it may be safe for vaccinated people, but for everyone else, it's not. And they don't care. That's the main thing. But you know what? Fine. I'm sick. I'll be in the club, you know,
twerking with your
like crazy with, you know what? I'm sorry. Like I can't anymore. I've exhausted. I was just in a bar last night without my mask. It was beautiful. And you know what? I can't, like, look, obviously they're wrong and they don't care about the people who are unvaccinated, who can't be vaccinated, who are, you know, immunocompromised, but they don't care about any of us. So
they don't.
I'm gonna be in the club without my mask on.
You'll be twerking without your maskless? Twerking maskless?
I will. I mean, I still wear my mask. But you know, I don't know. I just want to get as much joy and pleasure out of the last days before we all have to, you know, kill each other for potable water or whatever.
Well, Kamala did say that's going to be the new wars. We're going to be having them over water. She said this. I was like, who is this? Like, it's rough. It's those two Biden. They've just been. It's been rough for me. I didn't vote for them, so I can say this. Fuck. I wrote in Asata Shakur, and I've never been prouder of myself.
I also wrote in Asata Shakur. My commie friend also wrote in Asata Shakur.
Wrote her in. I was like, let's get her from Cuba because y'all don't know shit. But anyway, no, you know, the interesting thing about this whole mask thing, which like concerns me, is that Nancy Pelosi has said that people are still going to have to wear masks in the Capitol because get this, even though like 100% of the House of Representatives that are Democrats have been vaccinated, only 42% of like Republicans are being vaccinated. But get this, only 45% of Americans have had their first shot and 32% have been fully vaccinated. So if you're having these different rules for like Congress people, and then you're having different rules for us, that means you're like, die, bitch. Like, it's like, we need y'all to get back to work, take off your masks, go die on that fucking, like, whatever, you know, on your laptop or flipping burgers. Like, they don't give a fuck. Like, they don't. And I don't.
They have been consistent. All we want is consistent, truthful messaging from politicians. And this is the consistent message. Die, boys. We're going to take care of ours. Like, these are homies. So we got to keep our masks on. We can't let them get sick. They deserve a living wage. They deserve to be paid. That's right. They deserve also the boards of whatever company is giving them a little money on the side to make the laws a little different so that they can put toxins in all our shit. Listen, that's who they are. What are you asking for?
Like, are we dumb? Are we dumb to even bother asking them for shit? I'm like, at this point, I was like, I feel stupid. Like, I keep asking you for shit. I know you're not going to give it to me. So that's partially why I became an anarchist. Because I was like, I know y'all are not about to do shit. I know y'all are not here for us. It's like trying to, like, you know, when you have a crush on like somebody and you're really trying to get them to like you and they are just not feeling you, like, but you're like, really like, please. Like, oh my God. I once told a boy that I liked Good Charlotte because I wanted him to like me. He didn't like, I know, I did. And he still didn't like me. Like, it's like, just like, they're not into us. They want us to die. Just like, let them go.
They want us to die. They do care if we live or die. They prefer us to work and then die.
Yes.
That is made it clear. Like, remember when that woman was like, please, Joe Biden, student loans are literally killing me and my family, help, oh God. And he was like, no. Like, they care.
No, but BLM. No, but BLM. Heart.
You know, my pronouns, he, him.
Yeah.
But also,
we're going to get your pronouns right as we murder you.
Exactly. Is it they, them? All right, into the chambers. They don't care. Like, stop asking for rights. Stuff. What are y'all, crazy?
Stop asking, just take them at this point. But that's all we got.
That's all we got left.
We only got each other. But Sheria, thank you so much for sharing your feelings. They were so good and so intense.
I'm on a list for sure now. But
I feel like at this point in time, I don't even care if I'm on a list. This is who I am. We're just going to live with it. But thank you so much for joining me. We're going to keep going with the show, keep going with the news. All right, that was Sheria, everybody. We had a lot of feelings, and we're actually going to get to our last piece of news that I've been having a lot of feelings about, and I couldn't think about anybody better to talk about this with. She's an activist. She's a writer. She's just like a general badass who's like been schooling TikTok on everything like rape related. Just like love this person. Please welcome to your screen, Wagatwe Wanjuki.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is so fun. You know, like what's crazy is like we've actually never met in person.
Right? Hopefully one day when the world is less bananas, we can change that.
When it's less crazy. Well, I'm like super happy to have you here. And I'm excited to talk about the piece of news that we're going to talk about. But before I do that, just like everybody else, I want to just get a general sense of like, what are your political views? What's your political perspective? Where do you stand?
Yeah. So I would say definitely anti-capitalist. I'm still figuring things out. So I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'm a Marxist Leninist now. Like, I don't really care that much because I started out as an activist, I care more about like the more immediate future. And like, I like reading theorists that based on their stuff is more relevant to the moment. So like anti-capitalist, definitely anti-imperialism, like Global South, rise up, empowered, you know, like I totally support that. You know, pro-Indigenous, obviously, pro-sex worker, we should center disabled folk, pro-trans. What else? I'm like anti-sexual assault. That's like my thing. So like anti-abuse and yeah, pro-transnational solidarity. I am like pro all that good stuff. So I know what I'm for, which I feel like is more important than like whatever labels. So yeah, I'm pretty lefty, I would say.
I love that spirit. You are pro all the good things. So I'm really happy to hear all that because then I know I can trust you. I can trust your perspective on the news. You're just like, yeah, I'm pro like not murdering people and people need food and I'm pro that and I'm also pro not exploitation. So I feel like you're doing great. You're doing great. I love it. So where do you get your news? You read a lot. And I feel like every single time you're always reading something. So I just want to, where do you get your news? If you were to pick one book for somebody to read, what would it be?
Ooh, I don't know. Well, first I'll say where I get my news. So mostly Twitter, because I feel like I used to watch cable news, and I know it was terrible. And I realized I was like, oh, say what?
Is it news?
Right, cable news, quote unquote, right? And we know how it's so sensationalized. It's not very in-depth. It's about like evoking emotion and being anxious. So I cut that out and I do Twitter and podcasts. So I like, there's like journalists I know and trust. So I trust the people that they recommend. So I try to like be on the lookout. And then I also follow like different outlets just to see what they're saying, but also not just American, but like, you know, African outlets, some European outlets, see what the colonizers are saying and stuff like that.
What they're up to.
You know, see what they're up to, what they're saying, what BS they're making up about us. So that's more or less, but I'm always, you know, like media literacy is like one of my things because I started out doing like anti-sexual assault work. And inevitably you come across the impact of media on our perceptions of what it is and how it holds us back and influences public policy. So I just got into media criticism and literacy and analysis. So like I consume it, but I try to be very mindful. Sometimes I try to share analysis if I feel like it, because, you know, media is about power and it's played such a large role, I feel like, in oppression throughout history.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
so,
100%.
right? So it's just really, this is sort of like, this is the best we can do, right? And just taking it with a grain of salt, because as you know, right, like there's just so many different things that can influence what we're seeing, like in terms of the end result.
Yeah, and if you think about it too, like these media companies, they're owned by wealthy people who are capitalists. So what is their incentive to like tell the truth, right? Like for example, the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, is he gonna tell us? Is he gonna tell us what's up with it in his super yacht? Is he really? Like, no, sir, he's not. Like it's like,
right, exactly.
Yeah. And like speaking about media, I feel like this is like such a great point that you brought this up, because I'm gonna share the story that we're gonna talk about, my little TikTok video with the audience, and then we're gonna talk about how you feel about this. And I think this is a perfect story like to talk about like the influence of media on like how people view things. So let's share it.
Last Friday, Israeli security forces attacked Palestinians gathered for prayer at Al-Aqsa Mosque, wounding more than 200 Palestinians. Yesterday, Israel launched airstrikes on Gaza, killing over 20 people. How should you feel about this news? As a taxpayer of the United States of America, you should feel extremely shitty because your tax dollars are paying for genocide and Ted Cruz's salary. Actually, as an American taxpayer, do yourself a favor and assume whatever terrible things are happening in the world, you're paying for them. Yes, that includes this man. The state of Israel attacked Palestinians on Friday because Palestinians were protesting the planned evictions of Palestinians from their homes. Yeah, the U.S. isn't just providing Israel with funds for oppression, it's also exporting the U.S.'s founding values to Israel. And U.S. values don't need to be exported anywhere other than a black hole. We must support the Palestinians in their fight for liberation because they are fighting against a racist, imperialist country that some of us happen to call mom. Last Friday.
Alrighty. Cool. So that was my take. That was actually that I filmed that. I recorded that on Monday. I mean, on Tuesday, and I released it on Tuesday. So things have gone crazier past Tuesday. But I just wanted to get your feelings. Like, so how should we feel about this news? And I think when you talked about corporate media, like I feel like this really heavily comes into that. But I'm just gonna want to get your feelings and your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many feelings to have about this that I feel like can be very valid. Feeling enraged, right, that this is happening in plain sight, and just seeing how, the U.S. has contributed to it so much. It can change this, right? They hindered the UN resolution to condemning, right, the Israeli attacks, and then we see the impact on corporate media. So it's sort of like, there's anger and I don't know how to say, like skepticism, right? I feel like it's so hard because like we're getting all this information, but then the corporate media isn't unbiased,
and like they're twisting it, and using words like conflict, and it's like, is it a conflict? Yeah. It's not a conflict, but okay.
Yes, it's been like very both sidesy, which has been really. It just like makes me think about sort of like how language around minimizing domestic violence is very similar to like the way that we like minimize oppression and like genocide, right? It's a conflict, and they're like, oh, they just had an altercation. Oh, they're just having an argument, right? We like make excuses.
They're both wrong.
Not our business. Yeah, like they're both contributing to it when it's like you're having completely like powerless analysis, right? It's just bananas how people's brains just seem to like turn off once we're talking about Palestinian human rights. It's just like, like logic just like flies out of their heads. It's bananas.
It's crazy because it's like, we would never tolerate this anywhere. Like, especially like, it's like, if you're a Black person in America, like a lot of like the Black Panthers, like they saw a lot of similarities between like the Palestinian struggle for liberation and Black people's struggle for liberation. Because I mean, it's different. I mean, it's still like settler mentality, which is the US's settler. It's like so gross. But I mean, if you think about it, it's like with Black people, they're also like put in these neighborhoods that are over policed, and they're constantly killed by the police. I mean, obviously Gaza is much worse. You are having like literal things bombed, but they used to do that to Black people too. Like they bombed somebody's house in Philadelphia, like back, like when was that? Like they've been talking about this, was like a family. It was like in Philadelphia.
Yeah, was it in the 80s?
I think it was in the 80s. Yeah, but it's like sort of like that, like. But corporate media will turn that and flip it and make the oppressor seem like they're responsible, right? It's like, they're tricky. Like, they're like,
Yeah, and it's sort of like how it's just so interesting because like I read this book about like abusers and stuff like that, and they talk about how like abusers defend each other. And it just feels like that's why like the colonies are backing each other up, right? Because the settler colonies are backing each other up because they know that like condemning Israel and that's this genocide is literally condemning themselves as well, right? So there's this like self-invested interest to misinterpret it that we don't really talk about. And we don't really talk about how like we're in the imperial core, and so our perceptions of things is like particularly important, and people know that. So there's like, well, we're always gonna be susceptible to like propaganda, and we never talk about it because people are always like, oh, China. Literally every accusation I've seen of China, it's like it's a Spider-Man meme. It's like the US.
Yeah, it's like we've done it. We've done it worse. It's like we were talking about like the whole, yeah. And then the US will be like, they're violating human rights, and I'm like, you're violating human rights. It's like
right.
You're it. Not
like we're in the mirror, right? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. But like America, like abusers who pretend that they're these saviors and they're superior, right? The idea of American exceptionalism. So it's just like. It's just so fascinating to play out. And also, another thing, we should also be mad about neoliberalism in terms of like, we are dependent on these corporations to tell our stories and to be informed, right? And there's been suppression. Did you hear about that on Facebook or Instagram?
No, well, I know that like with TikTok for sure, like they tend to like get rid of like certain hashtags and they don't show things. And I know YouTube does the same thing. And I assumed Instagram and Facebook does too, because I've heard those. But so there's a new story. I don't think I heard about that one.
Yeah, it was recently, first was MMIW, so like missing and murdered Indigenous women. So those stories, people had stories and posts, they were taken down, and Palestinians were posting on Instagram, those things were taken down, and there was like a big uproar, and Facebook was just like, oh, sorry, it was a mistake, it was a glitch. And it's just sort of like, they were never accountable to anything, and they know it, and it's just so frustrating. So this is something I'm also keeping back of my head in terms of like, who has the power, right? And like when communication is like more important than ever, right? Like where are we having it? Who is creating value? I don't know. It's just like I always think like, who are we not hearing? And blah blah blah. It's just wild.
It's wild because the people who are not hearing are the people who we need to hear, and the people who we are hearing are the people who we don't need to be hearing, because it's obviously like they're conflict. It's like whenever like, you know, I don't know. It's like when people, I don't know, like I always try to, I'm not a Christian, so sorry if I offend somebody, but like, it's always all this idea that people are always like, well, God said, God told me to write the Bible, and I know what God is thinking. And then it's like, everything is about what God wants. And it's like, yeah, because that's the source. Like, what do you, of course it's about him. Of course he's going to like say these things. Yeah. It's like me, like writing the story of Marcela. Yeah, it's going to be nice. She was a hero. She was great. People loved her. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's like, God told me this.
Yeah. It's like, God told wink, wink. God said that I should get the best piece of land. God said that I need all of your money. Like, but that's what's happening, like, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, people are not informed. Like, I feel like, I don't know if you felt this on TikTok, but at least in my experience, I'm kind of stunned by the, like, resistance to critical thinking in particular on TikTok. And it's like, sometimes I'm just like, why are we so hostile? Like, let's just reflect sometimes.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, and it really, but then I think about it, like, who is setting a good example? Because we're not really getting critical thinking that much in our corporate media.
No.
We think about it, right? Like, they're not really teaching us how to be historically informed. They don't teach us how to use context. They tell us who to trust, which is always deferring to power, right? And it's just like, we are so devoid of these like good examples. So, you know what? Yeah, definitely feel angry because this sucks. And it sucks to fund this sort of stuff when we don't have to fund killing people. I know. Wild.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, we don't actually have to do it. We don't have to murder people. And the worst thing about it is like our taxpayer dollars are like used for like hurting people abroad and hurting people domestically and making rich people wealthier. And it's like, I mean, it's what it is. And like, that's the truth. But the other part of it is like, you're going to work so somebody can be murdered. Like, do you like the?
It's so screwed up. I'm like, why? Like, America itself is such a pyramid scheme, right? Because it's true. We are working for our overlords who are making money off of war. Like, what the hell? This is so not fair.
No, and then they're like, you have to work, and you're like, man, like I don't want, because I don't want my money to go there.
Right? Like, I'm sick. It's like, work harder. And it's like, I can't, because you tell us to work all the time and you keep exploiting us. And you won't give us health insurance.
No, you don't need it. Because then if we give it to you, that means that you're not going to work.
God forbid we like have like a decent life, right? Like,
no. Because then you might get too comfortable. They want you to be always fighting, always hustling. Don't you know? Nonstop.
It's so wild. How do those people like exist? I like can't believe there's people out in the world who literally are willing to just sacrifice people's lives to make money or be in power. Because we should also talk about how like this is like the attacks, the escalation attacks Israeli against the Palestinians was also part of Netanyahu staying in power. Exactly. So it just like makes me think like that's so depraved. It's like sick. Bro is willing to kill kids so he can stay in power.
Yeah, but have you ever been inside a super yacht? Have you though? I'm just kidding. I'm fucking.
I mean, there you go. I mean, you got me. Game over. Everyone go home. I've stopped.
No, but they're doing it for trivial things. It's like you're willing to make people suffer. And so what? So you can have like a big yacht that you go in like once every like year, like, and so you can have 50 rooms that you're never gonna go inside. Like you're exploiting people for what? So you could have a nice suit. Like, what is wrong with you?
Right? Like they can afford really good therapy and do that instead. You know what I mean? Like unpack that trauma because you must be also just like empty inside to exist like that. Like I can't imagine being like a fulfilled human being if you're like treating human like you're willing to sacrifice lives for you to have a yacht that doesn't even make you like it's not even sufficient. Like you're saying, like you use once a year.
It's sick. It's really sick. But yeah, I mean, but essentially, like, I think you've wrapped everything in a bow. Like imperialism abroad, and like the whole reason why the state of Israel exists, obviously, is because of imperialism. It's like a geopolitical. It's like for the United States and the UK, it was like it's good geopolitics to have an ally in the Middle East because there's oil there, and and all of this is happening just so that a few people can live in a nice house. And eat food. And that's it. That's why we're all struggling, y'all. That's why people are being murdered in Gaza. That's it. Like that's literally it.
It's so bananas. Like that's what I always think about. Like it doesn't have to be this way. You know, like it can be so much better.
It could be. Oh man. Whew, those were a lot of feelings. And I feel like I'm all feeling out.
Oh yeah.
I'm feeling down. I thank you so much for coming, Wagatwe. I really, really appreciate you coming. I also love the fact that you're Kenyan. I think that's so cool. When I saw that on TikTok, I was like, ooh, sisters. I also from Kenya. I was born in Nairobi, so it was really nice having another Kenyan.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad we found each other on TikTok. It was really fun. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. And y'all, I'm just going to end the show here right now. It was really fun. Please join us next time. And follow, subscribe to Feel the News if you haven't, subscribe to the newsletter. And I also have the names of the guests on the description. So please find them and follow them on all their social medias. They're all very funny, very smart women. And I'm really happy that I have them here. Until next time, bye. Bye.